Welcome everyone, and you'll have an inspiring welcome remarks from David later. I'm just here introducing the agenda. So today we are, really excited to be here with David, Josh, Leonie, and Angie, and of course all of you. So of course the idea is to see what you have been doing so far, and also to give you the feedback so that you can prepare for the final submission. So after David's welcome remark, we will have team presentations by each of the team, and then we'll have a question and answer session in case you have any questions that you would like to ask us, or if others want to share something about their peers' presentation. And then we will share some practical information for the final submission. Hopefully that will be helpful to all of you. And then Leonie will share a closing remark. And then we'll take a group photo, of course, because we want to, share some updates on the social media about this wonderful project. So without further ado, I hand over to David for the welcome remark.
So it's really nice to see you all back again. I'm actually on this call from Dubai. I'm at the World Expo, which is in some senses the inspiration for this project, because the grants we got from Expo Live helped us to develop the platform that you've been using and the technology you've been using to collect the data that you're now seeing on the platform. So that's highly appropriate. Expos, as I say, in Dubai. I'm here. I've been presenting our projects, and I was presenting this project yesterday. And we also had a panel session where we were talking about how to transform education using technologies like these. So it's really great to be with you, and really great to have seen the work that you've done so far. I've reviewed the pieces that have been submitted, and I think there's a lot of great content in there. Obviously, as always in a situation like this, it can be honed and refined and improved, and hopefully we can help you to do that in this meeting and on beyond. So I'll let the presentation start now, and as I say, I think it's really inspiring to have these kinds of links that have brought us all together with ASEF people in Singapore, myself in Dubai, Josh is obviously still in the UK, and looking forward to hearing your presentations. Thank you.
Thank you, David. So first we have Team Solar Radiation. So Milan will be presenting. But before you present, since you know that we have had some changes in the team, today for the last time, I just want to make sure that I have the team numbers for each team correctly. So Milan, could you please kindly confirm in your team currently you have Dr. Sandor, Dr. Anita, Miss Marzana, Mr. Marcin, Mrs. Susanna. Is that correct?
Yes, of course.
Perfect. Okay, then I'm going to stop sharing screen, and then you can start sharing screen and start the presentation. So for the presentation, each of you have 10 minutes, not more than that, because you don't have to go in detail. We have your modules. You just share the highlights from the, about the module, and then there will be a 5 minutes Q&A session, so that right after your presentation, either us or your peers can give some feedback or share their comments. So Milan, good luck, and you can share the screen.
So we spoke about that our module should have three main parts. The first, something like evocation to the topic of solar energy and all things which can be connected with this topic. So the first activity in our module is work with the 17 goals for sustainable development, which and the all activities in our module, we count with the work with groups where the students should working in groups. about 2 or 5, from 2 to 5 or 6 students or pupils. It depends of the activity which they should to do in the lessons, or about it depends of possibility of number of students in the class of every teacher. So this is the first activity. The students should discuss and find the connection between the topic solar radiation and all 70s goals for sustainable development. The main part, it's not main part, but the longest part of our module is the part where we try to connect the topic with different subjects, with biology, geography, math, physics, and social science. And there are number of activities which are focused on different possibility to work with the topic. We use not only in our module, we use not only the information from the website's exploratory science scope. We try to work. We add some possibility to work with the NASA websites or other websites which can be used for this topic. But the main source for our work with data and graphs and finding the arguments or the connection between social topics and the physics or measuring from the weather station. The main source is the exploratory science comp, where we work with the graphs, with the data of numbers, and also about this topics. There are so the next one activity is there's working with the problematic of global warming effects, and we try to compare the pictures from satellites about the glacier melting, or how to say it, Earth's glacier melting. So this is the other one part. Then we work with the data from exploratory science scope from more weather station. We compare it and we try to find the what possibility, what can we read from different graphs, and what can we deduce, what can we say from this information which we have from the data from the weather stations. The other one part of our topic is not only solar radiation, but as well UV index. So we try to connect two graphs together, from the graph for UV index and the graph for solar radiation, and try to find why look the graph this way, and what are the connection between these two between UV index and solar radiation. So then we have an because for example in elementary school we can't build and make very difficult experiments which can be used in high schools, then we have a part of our module. We care about the electricity generation in solar power plants, and we try with the pupils to find the advantages and disadvantages and speak about the two about the possibilities, what can be used from the solar radiation and what could be problem for the producing of electricity in this way. We try to work in groups, and we want to make the students or pupils to the critical thinking about these topics, and then we add for the students the text, the science text, where they can find the other information they couldn't have from the classical lessons in their school. The next one part is about the experiments, where are used where we use the different elements, but all is connected with solar radiation and UV index. There is some possibilities where which experiment we could in the school to do, and about the 3 experiments we have there is a plan how to do it, and where we can find the information for the experiments on websites in different sources. So there is something about the measuring solar constant in school, which is not for elementary, but it's for high schools. It's this part. And this is practically not all, but the last one part in our module is about the conclusion and evaluation of our module, and use this module in the schools. And we suggest that on the end, it depends it very depends of the situation in every school, and it depends of the how the teacher applicate our module in their school, because it could be, for example, 1 project day, or 1 project week, or it could be, for example, 3 or 4 double lessons, where we can with students or with pupil build the topic and use this module. So we suggest that at the end we can make something like with the students, something like Kahoot quiz, or point the mind map in some software, or use the Mentimeter.com, or make a presentation for the other students in the school, or for the other students in the class. Oh, I don't know if my English was enough good for the presenting our work. So I'm just now in the end of my presentation.
Well, thank you very much for that. I certainly your English is outstanding. So don't worry about that. I think obviously it's really hard to present at any time, and I think just looking at your plans, lots of good content. I think from my perspective, maybe splitting it up into modules that are more appropriate for the different levels would be a good idea. So I think separating it into a teaching module for quite advanced level. Some of the stuff you've got in there is really very advanced, even for the gymnasiums, I would think, and stuff that's appropriate to the primary school level would be a good step from where you are. Make it into smaller chunks so that it's easy to identify what it's useful for.
Yes, it was. Yeah, we started with this problematic in our group in the first online session, but the time and I was only me from the primary school in this group, so that because we should cooperate with our group on one module. Then the things which are inside the module are lots of, and for my pupils, I can choose only part of this whole module, and if I knew what about the module is, I can choose these parts which are useful for my pupils.
Yeah, no, I think that's fine. The other thing that would be nice to get is that contextualization of the weather stations in your team as well. If you do have a chance to do that, we can put those on the website so that we can associate them with your weather stations and make sure that everybody knows where they're located and what the locality looks like. So that would be a nice thing to do as well.
It's a good idea. We can try it. But it also, I think, in the start of our work, to problem that in some schools their weather station doesn't work in the start of building our modules, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. Thanks.
Yeah. Thank you, Milan. So we also just have some quick feedback. Of course, we will take some time to give you proper written feedback later. I think Leonie has some comments, if I am right, but before Leonie jumps in, some of the observations from my side as well is, I think you mentioned that you were covering 17 SDGs. I think it's a bit, it's a lot to cover all the SDGs. We know that it's related, but maybe you can focus on SDG 13 and then another SDG of your choice. I think maybe focusing 2 will make it a bit more deeper for the students, and also a bit more, I think, in terms of the depth, in terms of exploring a specific issue, that would be good. So maybe you can select SDG 13, climate action, and then another SDG of your choice, depending on your topic. So that's one suggestion. And also, of course, I think in terms of the template, I think for now, we are assuming that you focused mainly on the lesson plan. There are like some questions about, your experience as well, 21st century skills and ESD. So I think like it would be good to follow the template we have provided. Of course, we know that the time was very limited. So when you provide the final, when you submit the final version, and it's a feedback for everyone, please do follow the template. Then it's easier for us to also, nicely put together all the content for the handbook. So yeah, please take note about that, everyone.
Thank you. We obviously also want to give our participants the opportunity to give feedback. So I raised my hand. I think that's why Judy also saw it. If the others want to comment, please go ahead. Milan, first of all, congrats to this. I mean, sorry, my dog is making noises here, in case you have heard her. First of all, congratulations to you and the team. I mean, it's a very comprehensive, and you see really like a level of detail. I'm not coming from that kind of this discipline. So for me, obviously, even more impressive. I think myself back into school years and think, oh my God, what should I have picked up at that time, and what is still in my mind right now? But compliments to this, and I actually I like the fact that you also started with the the introduction of how it is linked to which SDG, and do some games around it. I also think it's with your challenge having different levels and of pupils. We will help you with structuring it or presenting the model then in our handbook in such a way that it's clear that these are optional things, and the teachers who want to follow suit, they can pick and choose what is appropriate for them. Maybe that's also possible for the other teaching modules in a way, because even because this handbook which we are going to produce can be used by any other teacher, not only the V4 countries. And the standard of certain scientific concepts is very different in different countries based on the existing curriculum. So, so it is in a way a pick and choose thing. In your case, the stretch was bigger between elementary and secondary school. But I like the fact that also you had a lot, what goes beyond the data, look into other open source data and integrate that. So we'll further work. We're happy to further work with you on this, and really think it's absolutely solid, great foundation to make a strong model on that. So congrats. And David definitely is then asked to after this session to provide more in-depth details. When we go send you a written feedback as well on where maybe the ScienceScope web, the exploratory platform can be further used and further data can be integrated. So yeah, but congrats, thumbs up. Thanks so much, Milan.
Thank you.
Yeah. And most importantly, we are very happy to see that you recovered from COVID, So yeah. So next person, in my note, I think it's Adam, but if anyone rushing something and wants to go first, please let us know. Otherwise, Adam can go ahead and present, and you can share the screen as well.
Yes, so I will try to comment on our lesson plan. So okay. First of all, I'd like to thank Adrian from Hungary for her great ideas and her contribution to the lesson plan. We concentrated on two environmental topics. The first one was alternative sources of energy, namely wind farms, and the problem of smoke and air pollution in various areas in Central Europe in connection with the wind direction and its impact on the quality of air in winter. So these were two main topics for us. As you can see, our weather stations are located on the roofs of the school, so in both cases in Hungary and Poland. And such a location seems to be the most, in my opinion at least, the most appropriate as the space is open around, as most of the schools are located in the city center. There are some tall buildings around which may interfere with the data collected by the weather stations, of course, but we can't do much about that, of course. During our work, we had to change our ways of work. I mean, due to the pandemic and the quarantine, the teams were forced to work both on site at school and online. Sometimes it made the project work more demanding, I'd say. So here I took some screenshots of our work when we were on quarantine with our students, and some pictures from our work at school. So I've already presented you our tasks, so I will go through the tasks very quickly. So we divided tasks into three parts. We called them the introductory part, the core part, and The third one is named, give me a while. The third one is named ending fun tasks. We call them ending fun tasks. Okay, so at the beginning, students brainstormed any words they associate with wind and wind speed. To do that, we used two tools, Ansegarden and Mentimeter, so you can see students' associations with wind. And next, students worked in small groups and they came up with definitions of those words. And out of these definitions, we created a learning app quiz. You can see that quiz right now. So we have those names here on the left side, and we have definitions and also pictures. So if you wish, if you have time, if your students have time, you can also use this quiz during your classes. That's a link here to the learning app. And when you do that correctly, so the screen looks like that. And also my students came up with the idea of visiting the places where the weather stations are located. I think it was quite nice because they saw what schools look like in other countries, what the surrounding area looks like in other countries. So we took some screenshots and we did that online during the quarantine. So students were able to take screenshots and send to me directly. Okay, and as for the core part, we, in the first task, we tried to decide if the area where we live is suitable to build wind farms. So we put this question on the Mentimeter, and students next came up with their own ideas. For example, Adrian has written to me that her students answered that actually their opinions were divided. Some of them thought that it's a good place to build a wind farm because there are some wind turbines already in this area, while other ones claimed that it's not good to build wind farms there because it's located in a valley, so the wind won't be enough powerful to build wind farms there. And next, we analyzed the data from the weather station. So you can see, and for example, in the case of my school, it turned out that this area is not suitable because we get very weak winds. And when students looked at some articles online, what are the requirements to build wind farms? So it turned out that the wind is not powerful, as I said, to build wind farms there. So we also analyzed the data from some other weather stations. So in Poland, it turned out that, for example, a better place to build wind farms is the area by the sea, by the Baltic Sea, closer to the sea, because the winds there are stronger, and it would be a more logical decision to build a wind farm there. So some pictures. And in the second task, in the core part, we dealt with the problem of air pollution, of smoke, especially in winter time. So we found some pictures showing our town. Actually, these are pictures from the local media. So these are not our pictures, but these are pictures from the local media. As I already told you, smoke is a big problem in Central Europe, in Poland, especially in the south of Poland. So here you can see which areas are mostly affected by smoke in Poland, but also it's a big problem in Europe, especially in Central Europe, as I've said. So what we did here is we tried to think about the district of our town in which there are houses which are heated by coal. And later, we analyzed the data we gathered from the weather station, looking at the wind direction. So our question was, was it harmful? Was it healthy to go out during a period of a week? And it turned out that it was quite risky to do that. During that week, we analyzed the data because the wind was from the east-north. So the wind blew all that smoke into the direction of our school. So in Poland, for example, in Krakow, in such situations, they give such advice that especially elderly people or people who suffer from some lungs problems, okay, they shouldn't go out, they shouldn't spend too much time outside when the quality of air is bad. So we also came up with some ideas for the ending tasks. Okay, actually, we didn't manage to do them at school. These are just some tasks to be done later. So we propose listening to a song, Wind of Change, analyzing lyrics and discussing the message. And in task 2, we propose identifying the theme of wind in literature, poetry, films, and paintings. These are students' ideas. You can see Gone with the Wind, the myth of Icarus. Okay, so these are things we can talk about, and also some paintings. So and also Adrian suggested some folk stories from Hungary. So here below I put some comments as far as the educational aspects of the projects are concerned. Thank you. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Adam. So anyone who wants to jump in and share comments, you are welcome to do so. Not just David, Leonie, NG, and Josh, but the participants as well.
Actually, I am very happy that there are Hungarian hints in this project, because these are wonderful songs, both of them, and very famous in Hungary as well.
Shall we start with David as our tech expert in the team?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, again, a very good, strong starting point. And I think there's a lot of really good content there. I think like the previous one, it's good to separate out when you come to finalize it, to separate out into modules which are manageable size from a sort of teaching and learning perspective. So you bring those individual ideas out separately. The work you've done on planning where wind farms can go looks exemplary. Obviously, the more data you get, the more information you'll be able to use that judgment. But I think already the information you've got indicates something which is a really useful observation about location of wind power and where it's best done. And it's good to have the proof from weather stations that that's the case. You know, you can see where people are citing them, but actually why they're citing them there comes from the data. So getting the data is really important. I think there's a lot of scope to do more with the air pollution that you're talking about. Wind direction is absolutely critical in all of this. And again, as time goes on, I think there's a lot of work you could do on identifying when the wind's in a dangerous direction and when it's in a safer direction. And that would be a really good activity with the kids, I think, and try and correlate that. Maybe, well, I mean, one of the things you could do is to use the survey system, for instance, which we've mentioned before, to get the students to actually identify when they think the air pollution is bad, and then see how that correlates with the wind direction. maybe wind speed as well, actually. I think they're both likely to have some sort of significance. So those are the things that I would say you have an opportunity to build on. Very good, strong start.
Maybe I add to this while waiting for hands to rise. But sometimes the hand is very heavy after a long day. Depends how many times you hold, and write something on the board every day at school. No, Adam, I have to say, I don't believe that you teach English. I think you teach the art of interdisciplinarity. And that's truly like in this proposal, and it reminds me of my university times. You're really like already a level higher. I studied cultural sciences, and we had like the most unusual combinations of science and art connections at that time already, and the fact that you bring Wind of Change by a German band in it, but also connected to Icarus, I think is really very nice. And again, I think this is like a session where each of you can inspire each other. So if the others want to have like one section, maybe we can add this, Jyoti and Angie. Just, obviously some of the models are more STEM oriented and some of them are more maybe in other directions oriented. But if we can add, for example, for those which are more STEM oriented, just a little addition, what kind of interdisciplinary element can we include, which might be exciting for those students who need to create, that curiosity in STEM through other areas. Yeah, maybe it's music, maybe it's like Greek mythology, maybe it's health matters, and in your case it was a very practical example. I hope your students still go to school during windy days when there is a lot of pollution, and not use it against you and say today is not a good day for us, we better stay at home for health reasons, which in Singapore, by the way, happens when there is a high level of pollution. I mean, basically people are staying at home. But really lovely proposal. Same as for Milan, happy to share later feedback. David also has already given feedback, more in-depth will come. So congrats to that.
First of all, I would like to also thank Adam, because I think you followed the template that we provided. So really thank you for that. And reading the comments from your team regarding the experience of conducting this, you mentioned that it was really inspiring for your students. And also you mentioned that it was demanding to meet the deadline, the time, but look at what you have done with, the time you had. And of course, that there will be a time when you can work with the feedback, and then you can work on actually final. Because what we really wanted right after the training is that, before it's too late, instead of, having like too much time to, work in detail, first having, the data, the technicalities, everything right. So that's why we also had to kind of decide on that short timeline. So thank you for following the template, and hope that depending on the feedback you will, in your team, you will start working on adding more contents and finalizing it. So that's it from me. And if Josh and Angie also want to add anything, and any other participants, please jump in and go ahead. Okay, everyone is quiet.
Wanted to tell you that
of course, Angie.
We had some problems with the Wi-Fi, but now with the help of Science Bookmark, we could make it work. And now we can see data, and we have started analyzing data, and we started to investigate the correlation between air pressure and wind speed. So we hope we can see more data and build it in our project. That was
absolutely.
all I wanted to tell.
Yeah.
And so just to say, one of the things I'm hoping to do with your weather station, because of how, with that little issue that we had with it being set up, I believe I can get some of the data that was sent wrongly. So I should hopefully have more data to add to it, but I'll get back in contact with you once I've done that.
One
you.
more thing I wanted to add, thank you, Josh and Adrian, is Adam, you mentioned that you have the future plan to introduce this project to e-twinning teachers. So for the other teachers as well, I think that's a great start, because then you have a network. So if you are tapping onto that network, then more and more teachers are empowered. So I really like that sustainability and future action plan. Thank you for that as well. So if
actually, if I can add something, yes. So I would like to organize a kind of a workshop within eTwinning for eTwinning teachers who are STEM teachers. Okay, to give them some ideas from the tasks we have done so far. So I'd like to organize it this way. Thank you.
That's amazing, and please do keep us posted. In terms of highlighting and promoting the workshop, we'll be happy to do so. So please keep us posted.
I will.
Thank you. So we go to the next team, and in my note it's Jana's team. However, if anyone would like to go first, please feel free to do so. If not, I invite I think it's Roman who is presenting from Jana's team. Is that correct, Roman?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. So I think you are next. Before you present, could I quickly check the team numbers for your team? And I know that in your team, you have 2 lesson plans, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Could you quickly, walk me through who worked on which lesson plan? So for you, let me quickly open. So it's team temperature, right?
Yeah. We have the second lesson plan, and the first one should be that of Agnieszka, and they were like the school from Poland. So we were kind of working in a way that 2 plans, but we were like influencing each other, let's say, inspiring each other, and trying to make 2 lessons plan kind of with the same format, let's say.
Okay, so if you have 2 lesson plan, in terms of submitting the template, do you want to submit like the 2 versions for everything, or you were just submitting 2 lesson plan, but what template? In that case, we'll just keep the team like 1 team. So it's Jana, Agnieszka, Joanna, Alicia, Yuva, and Juita. Is that correct?
I think, yes, probably.
Anyone from the team? Yes, go ahead, Agnieszka.
Yeah, it's correct. Team members, correct. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Okay, go ahead, Roman. Share your screen and good luck with the presentation.
Okay, thanks. So first of all, before I start again, I would like to thank everybody. I kind of got on the board a little bit later, so I was a bit confused at first, and the confusion is still there, but it's been reduced, which is good. So let me share it. Okay, so I will show you the document that I had that we sent. So our module template is temperature, and we decided to focus on the glacier melting. Even though Slovakia is kind of in the middle of Europe, meaning that we are surrounded by countries, not by any sea, but still probably arguably the biggest side effect of global warming is the glacier melting, and it influences you wherever you are. So it doesn't matter if you are near the sea or whatever. So we decided to kind of concentrate on this topic, not just Slovakia, but also the countries near Slovakia. So that means, for example, Austria or Switzerland. And the goal of the lesson is to understand the process, the results of it, and ideally to look for some solution. So here are a couple of the questions, like how does the increasing temperature influences glaciers? What impact do our daily activities have? So that will be included in this. So the first part, as a sort of a preparation for the lesson, we have a video that students are supposed to watch. It gives them some basic information, and then they also have a quiz which is made through Kahoot, and there are just some simple questions to basically check the overall understanding of the topic and to see if they could understand it. Then the second part, there's an article. So far there's just a Google link, but the article should be somewhere there, so this is something we can kind of add a little later on. So it's like a reading activity, essentially. We've got an article where they should get familiar with certain vocabulary and get maybe a bit more familiar with the topic. And then we have what was mentioned by others as well, the exploratory, the site where we can find data and like the average temperatures in the Alpine countries for the last 5 years, and we can probably use that with our data to compare it. This is the part where the guys, well, the students, they had to prepare the, let's say, a presentation. I will show it to you. I have it separately. I haven't put it in. So I think they were also using Kahoot, I think. So they were comparing the temperatures, but their data is just the since the weather station was installed. So I guess that's since November, since the early November or late October, something like that. So this part is still kind of in the process. We still haven't finished it. Also, because of the challenges, like we were in the lockdown, and also we weren't really given that much time by our, let's say, top management, if I can call it that way, you know, like we're mostly supposed to work on this outside of our work time. So that kind of limited things a little bit. Then we are also using the World Glacier monitoring page. Well, there are some graphs, and we can kind of put that into a bigger perspective, let's say, where we also look like when did the largest loss of glaciers occur, in which part of the world glaciers decline the fastest. So this is like watching the effect of global warming, kind of like how it's happening. Then towards the end, we've got a discussion as to how does your lifestyle and behavior affect this phenomenon, because essentially every person can be responsible for this. And then the last part is also about calculating your carbon footprint. There should be a link, we can edit later. And this is like this activity where apart from suggesting solution and so on, they can also like see how much they are affecting the temperature, like the individual students, and maybe this will put some of the daily activities which we consider mundane, maybe even ordinary, kind of into a different perspective. So I guess that's basically it. I also wanted to ask you, Jana just sent me the message when they started. Certain, as you can see, we miss certain data because, you know, especially when I saw Adam, but also the other guys, like the bar was set really high and we kind of stayed below the bar. But if we can add analytics a little later on, because also of the situation and so on, so maybe we could like complete it in January, if that's okay. And I guess that from our lesson plan, that's probably everything. Oh, one more thing Jana mentioned, we didn't use Kahoot, but Mentimeter with the exploratory platform. Yeah, so it was Mentimeter. Sorry for that.
Again, a great start, I think. I think the obvious thing about glaciers melting is that you need data over a longer period of time to really study the problem which you've highlighted already. And I think one of the things we want to see happening in this project is extended long-term use. What I've started to do some analysis of some of the weather stations we've had running for a year, and you can start to see some trends when you have that very long, slightly longer term data. And then as we move on, even more of this will come out. But if you don't start collecting the data, you won't have it to analyze in the future. So one of the really important things for the project, as far as I'm concerned, is to keep this going so that we can get that engagement longer term and so on.
Thanks for the feedback.
So I just quickly want to jump in. Your team has submitted 2 modules, right? So since, you know, everybody hasn't seen the modules yet, so maybe you could quickly show us which module was developed by who, so that everybody has an understanding of, you know, two separate modules. And yeah, I think that would be, if you could quickly highlight that.
You mean from the document, like that shared document?
Yeah.
Okay, just
because
give me
then everybody who is not aware of it, then if they want to comment, then they can also just you know, be aware of that.
Sure. I think some stuff is missing there now that I checked it, but okay, let me just share it quickly. Too many windows open. Okay, so basically lesson plan 1 is that of Agnieszka, and lesson plan 2 is ours.
So when you say ours, it's you?
Because you're from
Jana?
yeah, Slovakia, basically.
Okay,
Slovak plan.
okay.
Also,
Okay.
one thing I forgot, I'm not sure if I talked about it. I think it's somewhere here, the pictures of our weather station. I'm not sure if we put it in.
May I jump in?
Here they
Of
are,
course.
just so that you can see.
May I jump in? There is the material that I sent you, Roman, yesterday. It was the template, the finalizing. What you've been showing us, it's the first kick. So in here, I haven't submitted. So what is the last is the thing that we've been going through a few minutes ago, if you know what I mean. This one, you can close it because it's just the first kick. And template, the model template of the Slovaks, the template of the Slovaks is the one that I sent you yesterday. And it should be the one, Roman, you went through, you've been doing now. So this one, you can close it. And actually that was my question to Jyoti. Should we submit the final model in here? Is that
Okay.
what you expect us to do?
Okay, so please, Leonie and George, David, jump in if I'm not on the right track. I think if as a team you prefer to, let's say, have 2 different lesson plan, but you want to submit 1 module. So 1 module with 2 different lesson plan, that's fine. However, if let's say the process is different, you want to highlight learning for 21st century skill and education for sustainable development differently, then it's better, for example, you and Roman, you can submit 1 module and Agnieszka and her team can submit another module with 2 different lesson plan. So I think I am okay with that. And I think it depends on your flexibility and your decision, really, your team decision. Yeah.
Okay.
And
should we submit, Jyoti, sorry, should we submit it in that document form, or it's enough to do it that way that I sent you, like I did with this model? What's better? Should we submit it into that first document model, or it's enough when we send you a like document, extra document?
So actually it will be good to just follow the template that we have provided. That's easier for us because then, you know, we will be going through.
No, you probably didn't get what I mean. Okay. There is the e-learning platform, you know.
Yeah.
We submitted there our, let's call it essays. So should we submit it somewhere there, our model template? Should we send it by email like I did it yesterday? Or should we submit it in that document platform where all the participants submitted their first kicks usually? And I've seen there the talking as well. So what should we, where should we submit it?
Yes, thank you. We actually have that feedback at the end for practical matters, but since you ask anyways, the e-learning session, so for this e-learning platform, you see that we had individual assignment, so everybody can submit. But for this one, it will be like communicating back and forth. what we request you is like you select one team member, like a focal point, who is submitting the module to us to ASF ClassNet email, and then keeping Leonie, David, Josh, me, and Angie in CC, and your team members, of course, because in that case, then we don't have to, download and then again, like start an email communication. We can use that email as, a communication chain for giving you feedback, and then, so that it's a bit easier to organize.
Yeah,
so we'll share more information about the instruction for how to submit the final one. So yeah. Yeah. And
so everywhere. Did I get it well? We should submit it and we should send it as well. Okay.
Email, yeah, you send us an email. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So I invite everyone, whoever wants to share feedback, comments, anything really. And congratulations to you and your team.
No, I just wanted to say also like compliments. Nice to hear that you have also different modules and prepared. And it's true that once you start working on it, there are probably so many different paths you can go and so many new information you can and resources you can add. And as David mentioned at the very beginning, probably a challenge is rather to limit it than to then further expand it. So what is now, which you say like 2 models or 2 different lesson types or plans can be easily 3, 4, 5, and 6 once you start, getting into it and the students like it. I was actually, when I listened to Roman's presentation, and I really, it was very clear, Roman, great pitch, to the point. I was actually thinking we should record these pitches as well. We should not only have it as a handbook, but maybe also like just some short video clips, as a little promo, and each teacher then highlights, okay, this is a model you can do, and this is for you. Why don't you try it out? So that's something, Roman, sorry you inspired, but maybe it's even more work now. But that's something which we can consider apart from the actual, or next to the actual written module. Just have a little short, pitch on, we have developed this, and you can be proud of that. And this can be published as a way also to promote, and it can be done in your own, in Slovak and in English. Yeah. So thanks, Roman, for creating more work or ideas.
We move on to the next presentation.
First of all, I'd like to thank our members of our team from Slovakia. Thank you for nice cooperation. Thank you, Jana. Thank you, Roman. And as for the lesson itself, so it concentrates on, maybe I have to, it concentrates on the impact of temperature on air pollutants concentration and human health. We would like to, during the lesson, we wanted to discuss the influence on meteorological factors and temperature in particular on air pollutants concentration, and then to explain the impact of the increasing air pollution on human health, especially in case of elderly people who suffer from lungs problem. And the situation is quite serious in their case, especially during winter, when the heating of the houses begin, when people use coal and the quality of air decreases. And this causes life-threatening conditions. So during the lesson, we wanted to answer the following questions. So how does temperature affect air pollutants concentration? How does temperature affect people's health? And is there any correlation between air pollutants concentration and people's death rate? As for the lesson itself, so the first step was students were supposed to watch Euronews Tonight report available on YouTube. And this video was supposed to give the students the gist of the situation, so to give them some insight into the topic. And while watching this video, it's quite short, so the students could get familiar with some lexical items. And those lexical items were later used by us in the quizzes, on the quizzes platform, where we created a quiz for the students. and they were playing it during lesson and to get the translation correct of the words, of the keywords. And later on, the teacher explained the lesson objectives, and the students were supposed to work in 3 groups. And the first group was concentrating on the exploratory web page, and they were to extract data focusing on temperature, humidity, and wind direction. Here we had a kind of a problem, because since the weather station hadn't been in operation for a very long time, so it was hard for the teacher to see the trend. So I hope that over time, when the weather station will be working for a longer time, it will be easier to get the more to see the trend, to see any changes. The next group was working on the platform of NASC. Actually, on our school there is their device attached, and they were analyzing the PM10 dust concentration. And they were focusing on the question, when is PM dust concentration the greatest, which months? And the third group were the students that were analyzing the statistical data provided by the government web pages. And they their task was to find the death rate related to the deaths in different periods of the year. And students were cooperating in groups, and later they were supposed to exchange the data within groups. We wanted to employ that kind of lesson plan because, truly speaking, there is quite a lot of data to be found, and when all the students are working on the same things, it would simply take too much time. So that's why we divided the work into 3 groups. And another problem we came across was in case of the death rate, that the present data is somehow distorted by the pandemic. So the death rate that was the highest was in the winter time, but we cannot say whether it's because of the worsening air pollution and the air condition, or whether it's due to the pandemic. So hopefully next year, when the pandemic is over, hopefully the data will be more relevant. And then we wanted the student to find a correlation between the data, between different variables, because it's possible that first we wanted them to find the correlation, and later, if they manage to find the correlation between the data, to think about the cause and effect relationship. And here we employed the correlation calculator, which was created by our students. And I'd like to say that if any other group would like to take advantage of it, so please feel free to do it. The thing is that when you want to use it, maybe I will try to share it, to show it to you how it works. So in order to use it, you have to download it first to your device, and then here you have to put the number of variables you want to use. So let's say let's say 10. Of course, it could be more. And then you come out with the space to type in the data you come across on different web pages on where you are extracting data from, which web is extracting the data from, and then when you having inserted the numbers, you click submit, and in here at the bottom you come out with the correlation coefficient. And then, maybe now I will go back, and then we used it's somewhere here, sorry. We used the table, which indicates whether the correlation is high or low, or maybe when there is no correlation. So students were working on it, and then they were supposed to, so they found the correlation, and then they were supposed to think about the cause and effect relationship between the data. But truly speaking, during the lesson, there were so much data that it was hard to find the correlation between all of the variables. So we just concentrated on these two, temperature and dust suspended in the air. And then when the students finally came up to different, and the teacher had to guide them, because it was quite hard for them to come up with lots of ideas. So the students was the guide to lead them through the stage. And finally, they were supposed to, they could create some kind of poster, or they were just writing the ideas on a piece of paper. So that's all as far as the lesson is concerned. And maybe also I'd like to show you the location of our weather station. So just like in case of Adam's school, the premises of our school aren't that vast. So we are afraid that somewhere on the ground, the building would interfere the data collection. That's why we put it on the top of the building, on the roof. And here I mark I don't know whether it's correct, whether this is what David wanted us to do. Just I tried to mark the direction of north. Okay, so I think that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Agnieszka. So I think David is, go ahead, David.
Yeah, so this will have to be my last comment, because I will literally have to leave directly after these comments that I make. I think you've set yourself an interesting challenge, and getting enough data to do the correlations you want will take time. But I think it's a really interesting challenge to look at, and to get that other data in from other sources to compare is also a good thing to do. It might be worth thinking about a slightly simpler challenge as well, because it can be frustrating for students to struggle to get the correlations working because they haven't got enough data. So whereas I think, as I say, I think it's a fantastic thing to be able to do if you can, but with the COVID and so on, it's going to be difficult to deconvolute death rates with pollution and all of those sorts of things. So I think there are going to be some difficulties with that. So yeah, I think it's a great starting point. Your pictures with the direction of north and so on are just exactly right, so that we can all see where they are. And I mean, it's interesting to see that, you know, you've got snow, so that immediately is a really interesting thing to see, just to compare the differences between different places. Yeah, I think that's it from me really at the moment, but I think you've got lots of really good stuff going on, and look forward to hearing more about how you do get on.
Thanks so much, David, and continued success in Dubai. Yeah, we'll miss David's comments, because obviously this kind of feedback on how much data is required to then look into correlations and really deeper into that subject is something he will provide, not us. But it's also to you, like great in-depth and amazing to see how far you think in developing these models. So compliments to that.
Yeah, but don't worry, Leonie, we still have Josh. Good for us.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Josh is
okay, that's true. Sorry, Josh. Yeah. So you will be the one who's commenting then afterwards. Yeah. Yeah, but
hopefully.
I mean, what this example basically, the last one showed again, it's really nice to see how, and good to make this very practical also in your own vicinity and environment. And another element which we could think about, we didn't include in our template, but you know, that element of really local connectivity and other local data, which is then linked to that, potentially linked to that the data from the weather station.
The next team I have is Tamara and Agnieszka.
This is our own lesson plan that we worked on. I mean, me, Tamara, and Magdalena Kosacka, who's a science teacher in our school. She's actually not present today, but she helps us as she does her best to put a lot of work in it, yes, and to help us. There's several students that took part in our project.
Okay. So let us share the
Let
screen.
us share the screen. Can you see the screen?
Not yet. Yeah, I think I need to give you host, right? So I just made you co-host.
Okay. How about now?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So here are our names and the names of the students who took part in preparing a lesson plan. They were really active. In fact, they were the only people responsible for mounting, setting, and maintaining the weather station. The weather station was installed on the roof of our school. The school is located in the center of the city. Our building is surrounded by the internal yard with many trees and grass, but still it's close to a busy double-lane street. Here we've got some pictures how engaged were our students to prepare the weather station, and later on they worked on the data.
Unfortunately, we do not have any picture of the weather station itself. So, you know,
since it's on the roof.
Yeah, it's on the roof. You know, we
we
didn't think of that. Okay, so that we could have done it. Okay, so if you need it, of course, we can take a photo of it on the roof as well. No problem.
Okay, and our lesson plan is. Our lesson is in the form of a course trial. Now I'm going to show you the presentation, short presentation, and my colleague is going to discuss the steps of the lesson. Just a second. But before, the lesson is in the form of a course court trial, and all the students choose their roles and prepare for the lesson through collecting data from the weather station. And our teachers are to supervise the work. Wait a minute.
Okay, we've got some technical problems.
It doesn't work.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so so the lesson plan summary briefly is like this. So the time for the lesson is about 90 minutes. And in fact, it demands some preparations done by the students and by the teachers before the lesson, because during the court trial, we use the data from the weather station, as well as we work with it itself, but some data is collected before. Okay, so the students use it during the court trial, but it should be gathered and collected before. And students, we've got three parties. The prosecutor is Mrs. Watsa. In fact, in our school, we thought at first it should be Mrs. Watsa, but we teach on mainly boys. So in fact, it was Mr. Watsa, as you can see later. And defense attorneys, it was mankind. So the people are to blame for treating the Watsa badly. And we've got witnesses, Mr. Air, Mr. Soil, and Mrs. Liquid Water. In fact, it was a man as well. So we start the lesson with the introductory speech by the water party, and the water party tries to highlight the importance of water in everyday life. So, for example, briefly, they present water advantages, structure, features important for the environment and for the human race. Yeah. And then we show water circulation in nature, and we show it through diagram analysis and some models, which are not included in the presentation. We are going to embed them later. And then we've got also, let me have a look at my notes. We've got some witnessing the sites. So, for example, Mr. Rain concentrates on forms of rain. We ask ourselves the questions. For example, how does rain develop? How can it be triggered off in any way? What can be done to avoid or stop rain? What can be done, for example, not to get soaked? And we also think about the role of rain in the environment. So we are concentrating on hydration. Then we drop the charges and we interview witnesses. In the meantime, you can see the photos which were taken. We tried to simulate the lesson, so you can see the students involved in the lesson.
Yes,
okay,
the judge in the middle.
Yeah, of course. Sorry, it was a little joke, you know. He's got a hammer. We didn't have any other equipment, so you know, it's like this. Okay, then dropping charges and interviewing witnesses takes place. Not really. Okay, so for example, we point out the use of water in industry, farming, and cattle rearing, and we show how much water people waste on daily basis. Also, we concentrate on pollution and reducing the amount of rain rate. And at that point, in fact, students work on the data collected from the weather station, and they work on it, and they also try to compare the data in the historical, let's say,
from the National Statistic Office
in Poland
websites. There is some data taken from there and compared to the data taken from the weather station. Because we needed to compare the historical data with the current ones to compare how much how the rain rate can influence the desertification on certain areas.
Yeah, also we concentrate on pollution and reducing the amount of rain rate, which leads to desertification. And here, in fact, we do some experiments to show how water is important. This is what you can see now. But we also point out, for example, sewage farms, sewage generally as the factor which makes the level of water decrease, and we witness different parties at that point. And here you can see our students working, doing some brainstorming, mind mapping, and the judges on the left. And in the end, we've got the closing speech and the verdict. So Mrs. or Mr. Water wins because it's proven that it's indispensable to live, and human race is found guilty. So saving water by all people is adjudged. And according to the sentence, the representatives of mankind here are to suggest what they can do to save water in the future. So it goes like this. And Yeah, so what we used during the lesson?
There were some elements of music as well introduced somewhere in the middle of the at the beginning, in fact, of the lesson. We just played the music. I'm singing in the rain, and just to build the atmosphere, yes, to prepare everybody what the lesson is going to be about. I mean, about the water. What else? As you can see on the screen, we tried to incorporate everything that has been introduced during the lectures at the very beginning of the project and cooperation with you. I mean, team cooperation, critical thinking, and there were some lectures about IoT devices. The element of creativity to prepare the lesson, to take part in it, to do experiments along with the students, and analyzing big data was a key activity here. Now, all of this has been done to fulfill all the sustainable development goals, as you can see on the board. Everything what my colleague said just before, I need to stop sharing it right now and move back to the screen, sorry. Everything what's been said here, we've got it written in our template we sent you. What else can we add?
Maybe it's worth saying that we imagine that the lesson plan can turn into into something bigger. So teachers of different subjects could be invited to take part in it. So it could become a project, okay? For example, we can focus on water, looking at it from different aspects. So, for example, we could, let me have a look. We could have a maths teacher who could, for example, count, let us have a look.
Yes,
there is something in our notes. Yeah, I'm looking for that.
Yes, for example,
maths teacher, could convert the liquid units, calculate water capacity and density. Teachers, for example, of safety education, we've got something like this in Poland, can analyze the symptoms of dehydration and the ways to cope with them, how to help people who've got the symptoms. The teachers of English can contact with the foreign school and arrange online video conference to discuss the water issue and the water problems in different countries, for example. What in fact we need to highlight in the template and in the lesson module, in fact, and we realize it now, is that the moment when the teachers, when the students use and work with the weather station, we've got it somewhere, but because we are not science teachers, so, and we do not have Magda with us, okay, we've got it in our notes, which are not here, you cannot see them. So in fact, we are going to highlight the moments when the students work with the station and also with exploratory data. And so we didn't put it because we didn't think it's needed now, but we'll do it later on because we know that we have to do it.
And as far as the future work with the workstation is concerned, we plan to use it to analyze all the weather conditions because we're really active as in the area of the environment protection. We aspire to become a school of sustainable development. We plan to plant new trees, various plants to support local biodiversity. and we plan to do it with the help of the local communities and with the help of other teachers and the students of our school. I know that may sound a little bit chaotic and there are some aspects missing in our presentation. We, as my colleague said before, we're going to complete it with more data uploaded from the weather station, and there's also one more thing missing. I mean, the worksheet that is needed to do an experiment with the students. There are the two things that we plan to incorporate in a lesson plan, and that would be all.
Thank you. First of all, I mean, in the beginning, when you shared the idea initially, of course, we told you that it was really creative. So I think Leonie you can see Leonie has what do you call it, Leonie? She's very happy and she'll share about more information later, and Josh and Angie as well. But just to clarify a few things and also to highlight that we didn't forget your request regarding the UNESCO school. We'll work on that and we'll get back to you on that at some point. I think please, we already have what you have submitted through the learning platform. I checked again, apologies that we didn't see it before, it didn't appear. So, we take note about the different modules as well. So we are considering for you, Tamara, you and Magdalena and Alicia, am I correct? So three of you.
Agnieszka,
Tamara,
and Magdalena. Yeah, so three of us worked on that only.
I take note of that. Yeah, so when we include it in the handbook, we will prepare it accordingly. So thanks for letting us know. And of course, I mean, you already mentioned that more coming. So we are looking forward to receiving the whole, all the information. And I don't want to speak anymore because I know that Leonie is, she wants to share something. So go ahead, Leonie.
No, it's just, I just wanted to share. It's so nice after now for fifth presentation to see the diversity of the approaches. So I just imagine if you would all be in one school, how many different kinds of lessons, you could just do on this topic with all these various methodologies. So that's fantastic. And so no worries, Agnieszka and Tamara, that some information is missing. I mean, we'll extend the timeline and that can come also still in January. But each of the presentations and the models has like one very strong, I don't want to call it selling point, I'm lacking now for the right term in English, but one of the very unique points, and yours with this kind of role play really is thinking out of the box or around the corner, how you can really make this exciting and approach it from a very unconventional perspective. So it's great that we have some really strong science modules, like for example, the first one or the last one on temperature, which is really focusing on the data. And then we have like these other approaches which you have taken or Adam has taken, and that shows how much you can actually do with the overall topic, but also with the technical equipment. So yeah, compliments to that. Thank you so much. And beautiful PowerPoints, really beautiful PowerPoints. Roman earlier inspired us to do maybe some short videos. You inspire us apart from this document to do also PowerPoints on all for all of these teaching models. So you will be the culprit if there's more work, because the PowerPoint was just the starting point for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Magda is not present today, but I think that she has done a good job, just because she's a kind of a crazy science teacher in our school. That's the person that shoots films that are later on broadcasted on television. She prepares innovative lessons. So I think that without her help, we wouldn't manage to do anything. So we'd like to thank Magda. First of all, Magda.
No one has any more comments. We move on to the next presentation, and a big congratulations to your team, Tamara, Magdalena, and Agnieszka. Great job. So, and we look forward to receiving the remaining information from you for your module. So the next one, and I think the last one, is Pavol. So are you ready, Pavol?
Okay, so if it's possible, I can share our presentation. So
Go ahead.
I try to do it.
I made you already co-host, so you should be able to share screen. Yes, it's working.
Okay, so what I have to say at first, so thanks to all my team. So we created not just one module, but more than one. So we have to decide that which module we use. So yes, okay, thank you to Peters and Gabriela, Patricia, and Andre. So we got, I think, that very good job. So I created something like PPT presentation. I didn't know if it's good form, but I tried. So there is a first, it's something like there are some our members. At first, I have to say that our topic is about barometric pressure, and we use this lesson plan on our lesson at our school during geography lessons or ICT or lessons of physics. So we had to start with topic introduction of the weather, air pressure, and all measured data from our meteo station. So there are some topic introduction. There are more information, but these are only basics. So then we started with I think that, sorry, it's over here. Yes, okay. So we started with doing a correlation between barometric pressure and the solar radiations. It means that amount of clouds, in our atmosphere, then correlation between pressure and temperature, and maybe pressure and rainfall. So then based on this, we created some tasks for students. So these were five tasks. So in this given correlation, find the time frames where the correlation between pressure and temperature applies. There is correlation between pressure and solar radiation. If you understand why we did solar radiation, because if we can't measure cloudness, so cloudness we can measure only with solar radiation, because if there is a cloud, there is no solar radiation coming from the sun into the meteo station. So we chose the solar radiation data. Then a correlation graph between pressure and precipitation apply. How does it apply? And then it was for task number 4. It was something like task for thinking. The weather station cannot detect cloud at night. So, however, based on previous experience, in fact, we would be able to formulate approximate hypothesis and to try, because of there is night and we can't detect solar radiation, so we don't know if there are clouds or not. But we can predict it due to, for example, barometric pressure, maybe in combination with temperature. So it was the task for students, to think how to make some hypothesis. And the last one, I think that it was very good task. It was created by Peter Corman. If it's possible to measure altitude using barometric pressure. So these four tasks, we decided that I can say something about it, and this last one, it will be presented by Peter. So we can next So there was some thematic focus of the experiment. So we had to speak with students on these topics, and also to make them think about basics data on this atmosphere, the weather, barometric pressure, and so on. Then next is okay. There were some notes and implementation of the experiment. I think that there are some formal information that it could be used on street teaching hours, then housework, and then some. We had to create some groups of students of 5 or 6 students, and each group will work on one task. You know, at first, of course, students should be shown to work with the data, with the metal station, and so on. So we did it during IT lessons or geography lessons and lessons of physics. And then measurement analysis, you know, it was about 1 hour during their housework, because they could connect on this our metal station, and then evaluation. So, and then we had some shows of our measurements. So there was sample data of pressure and temperature. So how we can see the correlation, at first. We tried to find the correlation on 2 weeks term. So as you see, and one graph is graph of pressure, and second is temperature. So, and then they had to find some correlation, so that there is on a short scale. As you see, they did this short scale, and they see some correlation. So it was pressure and temperature, then pressure and solar radiation. As you see, that you can also find there some correlation. Our students so they find it. They also had to find the short scale of this correlation. You know, if you know something about barometric pressure, so you see that the average barometric pressure is about 1035. It's average. So, and the lowest is about 980, and higher is about 1050. So, if you see this graph, so it is not as you can see that there are a big maximum and big minimum, but you can still see that there is some correlation. So there is there is a rain rate and pressure. If you see that, yes, we know that from geography lessons and from lessons of physics, that the pressure correlate with cloudiness, and when there are a lot of clouds, so that could be also rain. So also they could find some correlation there. So also in a short scale, for example, they find this. You know, there is one is rain rate, and this next one is barometric pressure. So you can find it. Next. And task 4, it was the approximate cloud hypothesis at night, how it works. So my students, they did some hypothesis. I don't want to read it all because it's too long, but they could find something between them. Oh, sorry, excuse me. So here is it. You know, they could put together all these three graphs. So there was pressure, rainfall, and temperature, and they could also put their also solar radiation. But during the night, you can't see it. So they also could make some hypothesis how, if it works and if it is not, but sometimes it works. And so it was the end of these four tasks, and now I would like to invite Peter Korman, and he would like to continue with the presentation if it's here, and he could tell us.
Hello everyone.
Yes.
You see me, you hear me good?
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
But I don't know if others.
I focused on some tasks. Later on, when you have all of the data from meteor station, temperature, barometric pressure, rainfall, and then so on, we can compare this data measured and compare it with 7-day weather forecast and determine some reliability of forecast. We can see from the temperature data that it's difficult to predict how much will the temperature change when it's sunny and then suddenly the weather change to rainy day. You can move forward. Thank you. Then we compare barometric pressure. It's we also can see that we can predict the changes, the barometric pressure to drop and also rise, and these data are somewhat accurate because we can see I don't know this word. The move of the fronts and high or low temperature cyclones and anticyclones going through the area from satellite images, so we can reliably predict these changes. And then rainfall, we can compare this with real data and model, and we can see it has 2 levels, and we can reliably say that this day will rain or snow, but it's difficult to say how much. Okay, you can move forward.
Okay.
Thank you. And the second activity was the determination of flight level by barometric instruments in an aircraft. It's a physics laboratory work kind of idea when you can see you can download the synoptic map of the Europe from Czech Hydrology and Meteorology Institute, and you can from a synoptic map use this data to make this first column of reduced barometric to sea level, and then you can from meteor station get this second column data for your actually barometric pressure on your location, and then you can from barometric equation calculate altitude of your location with and odhad.
Just to guess
the errors of your measurements. Thank you. You can move forward.
Okay, sorry.
Yes, and this is conclusion of that barometric of the laboratory work. So you can write what city you try to calculate altitude of, and take your data and compare it with map, and also write your measurements error. And what we have learned from this activity, this is for high school students focus, and because you need to know logarithmus naturale, and you need to work with different sources like exploratory and Czech Hydrometeorologic Institute, and this have interdisciplinary character because you need to take together physics and geography. And we also learned that altitude can be measured with 5 to 6% error for low to medium altitudes from 100 to 500 meters above sea level. Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Peter. And I think that that's all from us, from our biometric pressure team. And as others, I also want to thank you to all your team and our team, because we tried too hard to do something like this. And we also did it during lessons, but you know, as in other countries, the situation of our COVID was not very good, because 2 weeks ago our school was closed, so we had to do it before. So then it was a little bit difficult, more difficult, but that's all. Okay, thank you very much for your watching and listening.
Thank you.
Yes, we are on home office now.
Yes.
Yeah, really sorry to hear that, you know, again, the lockdown is going on. However, big congratulations to you and your team. I see Patricia and Gabriela is also here with you. Martin and Andres, I know that Andres said he couldn't join. Yeah, so a big congratulations to your team. You really took the STEM learning to a next level and really integrating the curriculum and different questions with the logarithm and this and that. So I bet Josh has a lot to say about the data, because your one is really data driven. So I think I will leave the floor open to whoever wants to share comments, and then, you know, or any feedback. So please.
Yes, I think from our side, it's also great to see someone trying to do, your group to try and do some of the predictions. That's something we've been looking to and been trying to get other schools and partners that we've worked with to have a go at doing some, you know, basic weather predictions. And I'm sure, as you've seen, that actually with very limited data, you can start to make some. And as as I'm sure you found out as you were trying to make that and looking at the limited data that you had, that if you had a lot more data to compare over much greater periods of times, you could probably drop that accuracy down. So it would be interesting to kind of keep that experiment ongoing, and you know, once your weather station is collecting more data, is to start to see if that can improve, and something like that might be worth, you know, is quite an interesting long-term experiment of what other things can you do to improve that weather, pulling from, you know, other data sources. Doesn't just necessarily have to be our weather station, but also cross-referencing the data of our weather station with other weather or meteorological equipment that there might be in your area as well. So that's very good to see, and also nice to see the comparisons of kind of looking at, you know, solar radiation and pressure and all that kind of stuff, and particularly with, you know, as you said, you can use it to roughly kind of measure cloud, but obviously not at night. So, you know, what kind of problems do you have there? Do you just look over a 12-hour, you know, rough daytime period and ignore the night, and kind of, you know, so it's you know, very interesting to see what you got. And I'm sure David will also have a lot more to add to that, because I know he was helping out with some of the analytics for your group as well.
Thank you, Josh. This is nice suggestion. We have on one hill we have our meteor station, and on the other hill of Banská Bystrica we have Slovak Hydrometeorology Institute weather station, that professional. And this is nice suggestion to compare their data and our data.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Peter and Pavel, congrats also to you. As Jyoti said, you brought it to a higher level, and you rightly pointed out that probably this is not looking at barometric pressure. Maybe this is not what we do for elementary school kids. Well, maybe the basics, but with evaluation of the data and all of this is probably more advanced and not so easy to grasp because in terms of scientific concept. And that, so again, also from your presentation, something which we can keep as an inspiration for when we finalize the handbook and we finalize the models. Also maybe rank certain modules as, you know, like medium, complex, or advanced, or, you know, like more like for those students who are already at a higher level. And that, I think that would be useful. So there can be some models which are more playful or more, more approaching it from a from a interdisciplinary perspective, which is for some students is easier to grasp, and in your case really for those who truly love science, and that's definitely the case, which was also shown in your presentation, because you had a lot of graphs and you really went into the evaluation. So very well done, and thank you for that. It's I think also Science Scope with that, the heart probably was beating faster and or was jumping already when they saw what you can do with the data. So great.
Yeah. And I think I can already see the, because Peter, you work with like teaching your students about the future of, future of the world, and you were like working on some futuristic stuff with your students, right? I remember you discussed, so I can really see that, when it comes to science, you were very excited, and your team did such a great job. I think only one feedback I have from my side is, of course, you were going deep into analyzing the data, preparing the lesson plan. So we know that we gave a template where we discussed about, writing a summary and give like discuss the lesson plan. But I think for your project, you need to explain a bit more in terms of making it more understandable for anyone who, let's say, don't know about the data, and it's easy to follow for them. Like when they look at your lesson plan, they get an idea. It goes also for Magdalena and their team's project as well, because you prepared a court trial, so it will be good to prepare a easy to follow background information. So anyone who is reading it, they are prepared that, okay, this lesson plan is about that. And as they go through it, then they will, remember that. So yeah, that's it. And looking at the time, we are almost, ending. We are almost like, at the end of the session. So I will share some brief guidelines that we have for the for you to submit the final assignment, final submission. And if none of the teachers or Josh or NG have any feedback about any of the modules, then I go ahead and share my screen. I'm just going to, I will not go into the sharing mode. I think it's big enough for everyone to see, right? So I think you probably, I can't see your face now that I'm sharing a screen, but I think I can see a big smile on all of your face. Now we have given you enough time to prepare a very solid teaching module. So which is on, the final submission will be on Friday, 28 January. And before that, we will take some time to really go through your submission, the one that you have already sent us, by Friday, 7 January. So we will share some written feedback. Science Scope will specifically focus on the technicalities and the data analysis part and any other general feedback. And we will focus mainly on the thematic aspect and other general feedback. So please do wait for that email notification from us with this written feedback for each team. So we will send individual email to each team. Of course, we will share some detailed instruction about how to submit and how to name the file and all that, all those small stuff. So you will, of course, work on the team to work on the written feedback. I know that, for example, Yana's team, Roman and Yana is working on one lesson plan, so probably they will work in a team, and then Agnieszka and they will work because they have two different teams. So yeah, so Adam's group, everyone is solid, and another group as well. I think Pavel's team as well. So you know who are your team members, and you will work with them. And when you submit it, you will select a team member so that it's easy for us to also reply back and forth to submit the assignment to us to classnet@asf.org email. And please do keep all of your team members in CC so that they can also see that you have submitted. And then when we reply back, then everyone is updated about the feedback. And you also please keep David, Leonie, Angie, Josh, and me in CC in your submission email. And then we will keep you posted regarding the final comments, and and throughout the process, there will be back and forth email exchanges regarding the feedback, I'm assuming. So we will work on that later. And of course, the handbook creation, we will update you on that as well. So I don't want to share any more practical details and bore you with that. And Angie, do you have anything practical? And Josh? If not, then I hand over to Leonie for sharing some closing remark. And then I think I'm going to stop sharing screen so that it's clear and everyone can see everyone and end the session.
Thank you so much, Jyoti. Actually, there are only 3 points from our side, and the 3 points can be summarized as the first one is a thank you. The second one is a congratulation. And the third one is you truly deserve a great end of the year season and your holidays. So on the thank you, the project is not over. It sounds really like closing, but it's not closing. We're actually now in the core, at the heart. So the heart is pumping, and now we just have to distribute it, and the oxygen is there. So we will really bring this to life right now, what we have been working on over the last months. But thank you really for, first of all of you for joining, for being with us and really pulling this through. I mean, this is we always talk about 21st century skills of students and resilience and endurance, but I think you really showed it. And over the last 2 months with schools being closed, as shared, and several of you, we noted, you have alerted us, I mean, being affected by COVID, either personally or in your family or colleagues. And that's something which we are happy to see that you're here back on track, healthy, but we know it must have been a very painful and really tiring time. So thank you on top of your work for this commitment, and really, really happy. And the second one, the congratulations. Yeah, we congratulate you, but we are also super proud to see that. And I'm not sure if you at the beginning of the project, and now you see, the diversity and the input, if you at the beginning of the project have envisaged this kind of, breadth and width and outcome and the potential of it. And you will see after working a little bit more after it, it will be really a fantastic handbook with so much inspiration for also other teachers. So congratulations for being pioneers here. And I mean, now David is at the expo and he shares about this project and highlights it. And I'm quite sure that there will be more opportunities to come to share this and really, and put your mark, or you leave your footprint on this. And last but not least, in terms of I look at the calendar, it's the 15th of December, the year has passed almost. Really, I hope that the school is not lasting until the 24th of December. So you maybe already next week, and that's when we go on holidays. So also, you can really relax and look back to a year where you have as teachers again pulled it through for so many of your students. Also, obviously, the parents. I'm quite sure that you also supported them in many ways. Yeah, we just hope that you're able to be together with your loved ones, all your loved ones during holidays, able to enjoy maybe some snow. We will be jealous. And we'll see you hopefully healthy, fresh, and in good spirit early next year. So these are our three points. And the last one is a good night from Singapore. I think this we close the session.